Apparently, he was there for an informal meeting about his foundation. Oh, okay. Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce, former senior advisor to President Trump, Stephen Miller. I'm not buying that, Tammy. Not one bit. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, I'll tell you, Biden expects and should expect Obama's support for the election. Obama's been very vocal that he's going to get his support. He's going to be a key part of the campaign. He's going to be his main advisor. And then he does something that just highlights what Joe Biden can't do, which is swiftly get out of a car, run up to the number 10 in Downing Street, have an impromptu meeting. That's the kind of thing President Biden should be doing, or at the very least, Kamala Harris. But instead, Obama, once again, is sucking all the air out of the room. With he and Hillary, everybody would need oxygen masks. There's just no way around it. So Barack Obama remains the star. He is acting as though he is some kind of shadow government. And, you know, there's maybe a few reasons. The prime minister in England's having his own problems. The conservatives in England are having problems finding, a leader that they can stick with. So there's that. But the fact is that you've got a dynamic where Obama already, I don't know about this internecine fight, because when Biden was elected, he told Axios, 90% of the folks who were there in my administration, they are continuing and building on the policies we talked about. So there was this first utterance effectively saying 90% of the White House is my administration. So I don't know. I don't know if Biden really thinks that he's running the country or who's in charge here. But he said also, Obama said that Biden was going to, quote, finish the job that Obama had started. Well, if he's finishing the job, it apparently involves finishing this country off.
That would be the net result in 231 days, God forbid, if he ever got reelected. Never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to F things up. Stephen Miller, guess who said that?
Yes. Well, of course, that was famously said by former President Barack Obama. And that prediction has very sadly borne out every single day of the past 3+ years. As bad as Obama was as a president, he was a shining exemplar of competency and skill compared to the nightmare that we are living through every single day. Wars breaking out all over the world, violence spilling out on our streets, inflation out of control, and a border that is so open, you have illegal aliens from over 100 countries pouring in by the thousands every single day, uninterrupted. And I also suspect that you see President Obama going to the UK today because Obama believes that he, not Biden, can better steer the foreign policy of the United States. So I don't buy for 1 second that that meeting was anything else than President Obama telling the UK what he believes should be the foreign policy of America and the United Kingdom, whether it be about Iran, whether it be about Russia, whether it be about Israel. That's what I think was happening today.
All right. Exit question for both of you. So we keep hearing, Tammy, that Obama and Clinton might hit the campaign trail for and with Joe.
Great.
Does that make Joe look worse, or does that help Joe? I think it makes him look weak and incapable of winning on his own, so somebody else has to do it for him.
Well, exactly. And Joe is of the past. Those people now are of the past. But it also, you remember, Obama couldn't even drag Hillary across the finish line with an unknown candidate of Donald Trump. I mean, he and Michelle had the power of the incumbency, and they couldn't do it. Now running in to do this proves that they know that they have not done the job, that Americans don't like what they see, and they're going to try to, I don't know, maybe do some nostalgia. But my goodness, the Democrats don't want that either. It is going to be Trump. And it's going to be Trump not because Americans don't know what they're doing, but because Americans want a future that they can trust and that they can enjoy and that they believe can happen.
Yeah. Your answer, Stephen.
Yeah. Obama hurts Biden. Every time he's out there, he just underscores how decrepit, how ancient, how frail Joe Biden is. He hurts him just by being on the stage. No question.
Even Bill Clinton has more energy with him. How many years ago was Clinton president, for crying out loud?
Far more dynamic.
maybe Jimmy Carter's probably a close second, right behind Biden. Anyway, straight ahead tonight. News. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.